Hey, Stephanie Sinclair here, and I am excited for the second part in the faith series. If you haven't seen part one, just stop this video now, go to the video right before this one and start there. This is a multi-part series. Not sure quite how many parts it's going to be, but I know for certain this part right here, chapter 2 of the book, will likely be 2 different parts in itself. So this may end up being a 4 or a 5-part series. So make sure you start at video 1 and then move on here. So if you're ready, grab your notebook. We are talking today about how faith works. So part 1, we talked about what is faith, and now we're talking about how faith works. I'm so excited to dig in. Let's go. All right, so we ended part 1 talking about how God goes all out for you when you go all out for God. And so now we are about to step into the how faith works section of this. Again, it will likely be 2 different parts because it is a lot, okay? So let's dig in. We are, for those who don't know or don't remember, we are reading through the God Works Through Faith book by Robert A. Russell, and it is absolutely phenomenal. You can read along with me. You can just listen to me and listen to my commentary. I am reading, but I am also giving commentary at the important parts, right? At the parts that I feel like need to kind of really sink in for you. So you can do it either way. You can grab the book from Amazon. I am not an affiliate. I mean, I guess I am an Amazon affiliate, but I'm not even using my affiliate links here. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll put now that I'm saying it. Maybe I'll put it down in the description. But or you can just go grab it or just listen to me. Whatever you decide you want to do. But let's go. How faith works. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were formed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. The American translation of the Bible clarifies these words. It is faith that enables us to see the universe was created at the command of God, so that the world we see did not simply arise out of matter. Moffat translates the same passage in this way. It is by faith that we understand that the world was fashioned by the word of God, and the visible was made out of the invisible. Before life becomes meaningful, before religion has any significance, you must face these questions. Do you realize man as more than physical, more than intellectual? Are you also aware of the spiritual man? Do you recognize that there are spiritual forces at work in the world? Your answer, of course, is yes, or you would not be reading this book. You would not be searching for the satisfactory explanation of God and your relationship of him. As a reminder, in this book, if you're reading along, him is in quotations because we're speaking about God in man as us, in us as us, okay? So it could be in her. You would not be trying to find a pragmatic religion. You would have no desire to learn more about spiritual laws, no ambition to grasp the means of communication with spirit, which are available to you. You would not want to know how faith works. The persistence of man's recognition of this need for God and his unceasing search throughout the ages are proof in themselves of the reality of God he seeks. This really comes from the belief amongst philosophers, amongst scientists, that what we seek is seeking us, like it exists and it is seeking us, right? We know that is one of the laws. What you seek is seeking you, right? That's where that comes from. So you wouldn't be seeking this knowledge if that knowledge was not there, if it was not real. What he calls God is not particularly important. What he does with his belief is of supreme importance, for it determines the circumstances of his life, the conditions under which he lives. Faith works through acceptance. I put a note here that says what you desire is already there, but the real question is, will you accept it? The things that you see for yourself, the things that you are envisioning, the thing that you're creating, the thing that you're manifesting, the thing that you're drawing into your physical 3D reality, it is actually already there. And the only reason you don't have it is your disbelief and your inability to accept it as being true. Will you accept that the thing that you are seeing for yourself is, even if you cannot see it in the physical 3D reality yet? A Unitarian minister, James Freeman Clark, once said, All the strength and force of man comes through his faith in things unseen. He who believes is strong. He who doubts is weak. Strong convictions precede great actions. The man strongly possesses of an idea is the master of all who are uncertain or unwavering. Clean, deep living convictions rule the world. Someone has defined faith as the unconditional acceptance of the truth of our affirmations and an absolute belief that our desires will be fulfilled. Now, I did not actually underline that. And now that I'm going through this book for the third time, I'm like, that's good. So I'm going to read that again. Someone defined faith as the unconditional acceptance of the truth of our affirmations and an absolute belief that our desires will be fulfilled. Faith is not presumption or assumption. It is believing something which the conscious mind says is not true. And that is really, really difficult. I think sometimes we don't really acknowledge that in the manifestation process, in the creation process, in the faith process, you are really battling the fact that the conscious mind, which sees in the 3D, is saying this thing is not there. So you are really battling past that to step into the spiritual man, to step into the spiritual mind, to step into what you know is already laid up and waiting for you in the spiritual world. And the conscious mind is actively working to tell you it's not there, which is why working on the subconscious mind and the belief is so very important. It's why the subliminals, that I have a subliminal on my page, is why sleeping with those subliminals, so the truth of who you are and the truth of what's available to you can really overcome the consciousness which doesn't see in the 3D what you want. It's like a constant battle, right? It is believing something. Okay. Volumes could be written on the subject, but let us try to boil the process down in a few words. To be successful in faith, we must not only assume that God is able, willing, and eager to help us, but we must accept our responsibility to cooperate with him. We are co-creators, right? How do we cooperate? By our realization and trust that he is fulfilling our every expectation now. When is he fulfilling our expectation? Now. I make sure that when I'm affirming something, when I'm calling something in, I use now. There is power in the word now. Like, I need this thing now. This thing is here now. I command and demand this thing to be here now. That is really important, right? Our work is to make those facts real in our mind. I can speak the word of peace, health, or prosperity, but unless my feelings support the word that I speak, it accomplishes nothing. It is only when my word and my feelings unite that I become one with the power. Why is this true? Because feeling is the shock that sets divine energy in motion. There is a powerful spiritual law at work here. It doesn't make any difference what your problem or difficulty may be. If you will bring your faith and your feelings to bear upon it, if you will realize that right now and always there's infinite power waiting to fulfill your slightest or greatest wish, you don't need to seek solution. It will seek you. People are always looking for solutions to their problems, but when you accept the truth that is, when you accept that the answer is already there, it shows up for you. According to your faith, be it done to you. The universal response will always be in direct ratio to the degree of your expectation. To him that hath, the consciousness of fulfillment shall be given. From him that hath not, shall be taken away even that which he hath. If you expect much, you will receive much. If you expect little, you will receive little. The law must be fulfilled. Where's your expectation, right? What are you expecting in life? The law works equally well, however, when it is brought to bear on negative thought and feeling, which is what happens for most of us. We're constantly manifesting. We're just not manifesting what we want because we are focused on the negative thoughts, the negative feelings, the fears, the things that's not happening. That's what we're focused on, right? If you concentrate on ill health, poverty, loneliness, injustice, and futility, these conditions manifest in your life according to your faith. The first thing is to determine the kind of faith you have. When you wish good to materialize, you must have a positive, constructive faith. then you are in a position to strengthen and develop it. Perhaps your faith is only the residue from the background of your childhood. Maybe it is a little shriveled from the lack of use, or tattered or worn from misuse. You still have it, however. All it needs is your awareness of its power, your recognition that you already have it in your possession, and the opportunity to express itself in action. I want to pause here. This is why there's so many parts, because of my pausing and having conversations with you. I want to pause here though, because for those who follow me on social media, you know that I turned 40 in 2 weeks. And one of my goals for 40 is to learn how to roller skate. And my fear around roller skating is real, right? It's a real, that's a whole other story for another day and another time. But I realized when I took a lesson yesterday, when learning to roller skate in the proper way, that I have to squat. And so I'm using my quads, and I have an injury on the left side of my body. Actually, I have a few. My knee, I have 3 broken toes currently. It's been broken a year. And I have an ankle injury, and so that's the weaker part of my body. And I found out that my quad had atrophied. And here's the thing. I could be like, oh my God, my muscle has atrophied. I won't be able to skate. Or I can recognize that it's a muscle, and when you don't use it, it weakens. When you use it, it strengthens. Faith is the same way. When you don't use it, it weakens. When you use it, it strengthens. And so you need to start using it. I talked about in part 1 about you putting things in place, using it on the small things as well as the big things, so that you can see faith active in your life every day, all day. That is extremely important for you. Don't you let your faith muscle atrophy. And even if it is atrophied, all you have to do is start using it, start working it in order to strengthen it. Okay, guys, I needed to switch devices. I am back. So if I reread something, sorry, but I think I know where we stopped off at. Perhaps faith is the only residue from the background of childhood. Maybe this is a little shriveled from the lack of use. Yes, we talked about this because we talked about the muscles being atrophied and tattered and worn from misuse. You still have it, however. All it needs is your awareness of its power, your recognition that you already have it in your possession, and the opportunity to express itself in action. Faith wants to be used, right? Assume now that you have all the faith in God that you need. Then act in accordance with that assumption. We like that word, assumption. Every affirmation, thought, feeling, word, and action that expresses faith impresses faith upon the inner mind, upon the subconscious, right? As the subconscious accepts the impression, it will set in motion forces that are faith producing. When we fill the subconscious mind with faith, thoughts of faith, feelings of faith, memories of acts of faith, by some mechanism of creation, we have faith. The law of action and recreation is at work. That's not what that says. The law of action and reaction is at work. The impression is an act of faith. The reaction expresses the power of faith. The subconscious mind is a creative phase of the mind. The subconscious mind acts on what it is given, what's given to it, but does not originate anything. It doesn't. So everything your subconscious have, every belief in lack or abundance, in health or in sickness, in good or in bad, it's been given to it. It's been programmed. That's why subconscious programming was really important field for me to go into, because it's like, we have been programmed. We're freaking robots around here. And it's time that we stepped into who we truly are at the core. It's time we stepped into our power, guys. But not every thought and feeling penetrates the subconscious. Fortunately, okay. Me watching, listening to crime junkies. I told you guys on the live stream, I kind of paused on crime junkies because I started walking through my house holding knives and stuff. Now, ask why it's right here by me. Because I'm like, oh my God, people like, and recognizing you're listening to this too much, you have a fertile ground. When you have fertile ground, if all you're listening to is about how scary the world is, guess what you're going to start believing? How scary the world is. And so I love different crime shows and forensic files, but I had to really step away from it because I love it so much that it began to penetrate and I started to see evil everywhere. And it's like, girl, now you know better. Ma'am, you know better. We cannot always determine which of the many impressions we receive in the course of a day will go beyond the conscious mind and the mind of the senses, the top of the mind. Whatever passes through this mind and finds lodging in the subjective mind is quite likely to be pregnant with feeling of some kind. So basically what this saying is, typically what makes it past the conscious mind and penetrates the subconscious is the thing that the most amount of feeling is attached to. So when you start feeling fear or sadness or empathy or happiness or glee or any of those things, anything that like a real strong feeling is attached to, it's much easier to penetrate. Oh, we can penetrate the subconscious mind easily. Which is why when I talk about affirmations, I talk about just saying an affirmation is just not going to work. You're going to have to do more than just say it. You're going to have to pause and think about, I am worthy. You can't say, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy, I'm worthy. And think it's going to sink in. It's like, no, I am worthy of everything I desire. I am worthy of all the love and all the goodness. I am worthy of all the abundance. I am worthy of all the health. I am worthy of the transformation. I am worthy, like really stepping into that thing. And it takes it to another level. And it now begins to pull feelings and emotions and helps that go into the subconscious easier, which is why, again, I don't talk a lot about affirmations because unfortunately, most people don't take affirmations to that level. And so then it's not quite as easy to penetrate into the subconscious. But we have learned that we can deliberately plant in the subconscious mind the mental equivalent of the thing we should like to have objectified in our lives, that we can nullify thought that has been implanted for years, and that we can protect ourselves from the effect of disastrous thought if we are aware of the danger at the time it threatens. God works through silence. This is why it's a good idea to spend a certain amount of time each day impressing faith upon the subconscious. We call this period the silence. When you are alone and relaxed, shut out the world, become very still, and make your declaration of faith. That's when you start seeing the things that are in the spiritual, right? When you start literally seeing it with your third eye, when you start literally seeing it as being the truth, the fact right now. Even though you have a hard time affirming faith, affirm it anyway. Even if you don't feel that you have it, say that you have it. Say, I have faith in God. Say it positively and with feeling. Feel it deep down in your heart. Know that every thought you think and every word you speak, this good, yeah. Know that every thought you think and every word you speak contains the mountain moving power of faith. Concentrate on the meaning of the word faith. Visualize the effect of faith in action in your life. See yourself moving in a world in which you meet men of faith, men with whom you put your trust, a world in which you prove your own faith by the authority with which you speak and act, by your calmness and poise and fortitude under difficulties, by your resiliency when stress has been removed, a world in which all things work together for the good. The promise reads, all things work together for the good of them that love God. Paul told the Galatians that nothing availeth anything but faith which worketh by love. Thanks be to God. We speak on enlarging of our faith, but the only way in which we can do this is by enlarging our mental equivalence, by increasing our demands, and by adding the quality of gratitude. Some of y'all not asking enough, increasing the demand, increasing. This is why I said, look for faith in everything. Like when you get in a car, we don't think about it, but we're using faith to ensure that when we get in that car and we start it, we're going to get where we're going. We won't be any accidents. Nothing's going to happen. The police not going to stop us, that our car won't break down, that nothing's going to hit us, or we won't hit anyone. Every time we get in a car, we are operating from faith. Start acknowledging that, because when you start acknowledging, like, this is through faith, I know this is happening. And having gratitude when you get there, like, oh, I'm so grateful, right? It begins to strengthen that muscle that we talked about atrophying. I don't know, but y'all know what I'm saying. Okay. When we believe that God wants through us the thing we want, we are ready to give in advance. Yeah, we ain't gonna never make it through this book with me stopping. All right, because I'm trying to make these like an hour. And so I don't know how many parts this faith series is gonna have. Y'all just stick with me. Okay, just stick with me. We might be doing this for a minute. Remember part 1 where I talked about God being in us as us wealth is in us in as us, health is in us as us, love is in us as us. That's really important, because when we recognize that those things are in us as us, God wants those things for us. Our higher power, the God in us that wants all good things for us. That's where we win. That's when people, this is probably not a popular topic to say. I'm thinking how I'm gonna word this. I was watching a documentary about dictators in the world, dictators who was very successful for a very, very, very long time. And I'm not saying to be a dictator, but a common thread I saw amongst dictators, world leaders, as well as celebrities, entertainers, CEOs, people in their really high positions, is this thread of belief that their spirit was called to this earth to achieve a certain thing. Some people take that and use it for good, whereas other people take that and use it for bad. But to them, it's not for bad. To them, it's what they are called to the earth to do. And they're able to accomplish that which they believe they are set forth to do. A lot of stuff is about like how we frame it, right? Good and bad is a very interesting conversation that I will save for another day, probably a live stream. But a lot of times we like to label things as good or bad, but the person who believes that their soul was brought into this planet to achieve wealth, to achieve happiness, to achieve dictatorship, tend to actually achieve that because there is power in believing that God wants for you what you want for you. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, leave them below. But it's a very interesting conversation. It's something very, very interesting to study. When we believe that God wants through us the thing we want, we are ready to give thanks in advance. George Wilson says, possession follows the feeling that you do possess the thing desired, and that feeling is made stronger if you will express gratitude for the possession. What things soever we desire, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall receive them. When one is grateful for something he has not yet seen or touched or experienced as a result of his conviction that it already exists, his gratitude will hasten its arrival. Have you ever noticed that the praise of a dog brings out the best in him, and that the praise of a man inspires him to be and do his best? So it is with faith. Many delayed healings have come when the sick have applied the power of praise and thanksgiving. The conscious mind is an agent. There is a tendency on the part of some metaphysicians and schools of thought today to disregard the conscious mind, to negate it, or to ignore it. This is, of course, foolish on the face of it. The conscious mind is not only the mind of awareness and recognition, but the instrument that starts the mind in working in the chosen field of thought. It senses and select those ideas it wished to entertain. Jesus said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Without the activity of the conscious mind, we cannot know or be aware of anything. Acceptance of the truth begins in the conscious mind as recognition or awareness. It is conveyed to the subconscious mind through the realization or feeling. So both are important, right? In the process, we become aware of ideas through conscious thought, that we express those ideas upon the subconscious mind. This does not mean that we are going to use the conscious mind to solve problems, heal disease, or demonstrate prosperity. We are going to use it for the purpose for which it was intended, an agent to help us become awareness, important word, becoming aware of the omnipresent good, right? Remember, we talked about omnipresent meaning power. Science tells us that within the human body, there are more than 50 million cells, each of which is a miniature universe, and each of which lives its own life. The psalmist declares that heaven and earth are full of these, which means that God is everywhere, equally present. God is omnipresent. God actually lives in each one of these cells at the same time. Each one is a manifestation of God's consciousness. If we live in the consciousness, I and my Father are one, our bodies are vibrant with life, health, and spirit. Whew. For those of you who grew up in traditional church, as I did. We ain't read like 3 pages. Jesus. For those of you who grew up in church as I did, I know what your belief of God is, right? We tend to believe God is outside of us, but we believe that where God is, lack cannot be. We believe that where God is, illness and sickness cannot be. We believe that where God is, there is no hate. So when we take on illness for us, when we take on lack for us, when we take on hate for us, or lack of love or loneliness or not being worthy, what you are saying is that God does not live within you, because those things cannot exist with God. Right? So when you acknowledge that God is in you as you, God is your higher power, that really is God, when you really take that on, when you really take on that power, then you understand that those things can't really exist where God exists. So if you have been experiencing lack, if you have been experiencing lovelessness, if you have been experiencing illness, to understand, take on the consciousness that God lives in you as you, and that belief that those things can't exist where God is, those things have to leave. Because you're God. God exists in you as you. I hope that makes sense, right? In the presence of perfection, every cell expresses that perfection. We do not treat arthritis, neuritis, appendicitis, tonsillitis, sinusitis, burritis, colitis, nephositis, or any other type of physical difficulty. In fact, the more we treat against a thing, the worse we fasten it upon ourselves and the more real it becomes to us. Why is this true? Because a treatment against anything is virtually a treatment for that thing. The more you talk against lack, the more lack you have. The more you talk against the illness, the more of the illness you have. Disease is the effect of a cause implanted in the subconscious mind. We overcome disease by realizing that the body is a spiritual substance, an extension of spirit in perfect form. I and the Father are one. The great purpose of Jesus's message was to teach us to realize that our oneness of God. When Peter recognized and acknowledged the Christ in Jesus, the Master blessed him. Lazarus is dead, said Jesus, but nevertheless he commanded, Lazarus, come forth. And so he commands today. Throw off the grave clothes of your former self. Lift yourself a little bit closer to the allness of God. Why repeat the race history of Adam? Why carry yesterday's ills, problems, and disappointments over until today? Know ye not that prayer of faith shall save the sick? Hath it not revealed to you that the Son of Man has come to save that which is lost? Be still and know. The most powerful, wonderful statement of being known to man is that I and my Father are one. I and my Father are one. I and my Father are one. Meditate upon it, make it your own. Take it to the stillness of your consciousness and let God reveal himself to you. Be still and know that I am God. Let his life, substance, and power flow through you as you. Open your mind to the power of your oneness. Apply it to your body. Yet in my flesh shall I see God. Make your contact with him and say, I know that my body is a spiritual substance. Nothing can fasten to it that could not fasten to pure spirit. Spirit could not be subjected to destructive action. Therefore, nothing destructive can operate in me. The infinite perfection of spirit is now working in every cell of my body, for I am one with it. I accept my health, my wholeness with gratitude. Actually, there are no healers of disease. There's only revealers of health. Get rid of the festering, smoldering, soiled, smelly, disease-producing thoughts of the mind. Empty out all the mental waste that has been accumulating for years. Flush out all the amenities, doubt, fears, jealousies, and worries by reversing them. Claim your oneness with God, and all the poison pockets will be drained. Remember, where God is, illness cannot be, right? Nothing lower vibrational. You will understand for the first time the meaning of Jesus's word, yet in my flesh shall I see God. When Naaman and the Syrian dipped in the Jordan 3 times, his flesh became pure as that of a little child. So will ours when we know each new cell as perfect. Dr. Alexis Carroll of the Rockefeller Institute says in Man the Unknown, there is unquestionable proof of the efficiency of prayer in the cure of all diseases. The documented story of the cure of tuberculosis, cancer, and other stubborn diseases by its use has been told many times. Praying without ceasing is the constant recognition of our oneness with God. I put in quotation here that most don't really understand what true prayer is. We think it's begging to rid of the disease when it's simply becoming one with God and knowing where God is, disease can't be. And so we just move forward with that. Healing emanates from a consciousness of wholeness. Health is a state of consciousness, a creative, upbuilding force that can turn weakness into strength, disease into ease, limitation into plenty. It is in this realization that makes prayer effective and practical. When you get yourself out of the way of the divine circuits, the King of Glory will come in. When you find God within yourself, the prayer will be answered. Prayer, says Gilbrand in The Prophet, is but the expansion of yourself into the living other. When you pray, you rise to meet the air, those who are praying at the very hour, and whom save in prayer you may not have met. Therefore, let your visit to the temple invisible be for naughty, save, ecstasy, and sweet communion. I cannot teach you prayer in words. God listens not to your words, save when he himself utters them through your lips. Prayer is the realization of the oneness with God and the acceptance of the tremendous power of this realization. So it's not the word, it is the acceptance, it is the belief, it's the understanding that you and God are one. Someone has likened faith to a bicycle. It stands upright only when it is in motion. The minute it stops, it flops to the side. Faith must be kept in motion to have power. It must be exercised to be of use. We talked about that when we talked about muscle atrophy. Faith must be kept in motion if it is to have power. It must be exercised to be of use. Open mind eyes. Have you found God? Where are you seeking him? God is spirit, said Jesus. But no one has ever seen spirit. If you say, I will only believe what I see, you are living in the darkness. You are in bondage to yourself, and you cannot know anything beyond yourself. You cannot know God. You cannot know Christ. You cannot know life, and you cannot know power. No one has ever seen God, life, or power. If you believe only what you see, you must doubt your own existence. You have seen the house in which you live, but you have never seen yourself. Whoo, that's good. You've seen the house in which you live, this physical piece. Oh, that's good. Whew. What you see in the looking glass is but the form of your outer self. All you see of your loved ones is the body that houses where they live. The real self you have never seen. We know self, but we have not seen self. If we accept the appearance for the fact, we are denying our true selves. We exclaim with Job, behold, I go forward, but he is not there, and backwards, but I cannot perceive him. On the left, where he doeth the work, but I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand, where I cannot see him. Man is full of trouble. Are you easily discouraged? Do difficulties pile up on you to such extent that you tend to lose heart? Then remind yourself of Jesus's word. In the world, ye have tribulation, but be of good cheer, and I shall overcome it. Settle this thing in your mind once and for all. Did God promise a soft and easy life? Did God promise that life would be a bed of roses? Did God say that there would be no crosses to bear, no problems to solve, no obstacles to climb over? God did not. Then what is God's plan for us? We have it in Jesus's own word, to not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of our mind. In other words, be in the world, but not be of it. Go out and live life. Fight the good fight of faith. Keep the faith. Take unto the whole armor of God, and ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and have done all to stand. Of course, you will have trouble in an unfinished world, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. It is true that you can skip a lot of trouble on this experience plane. In fact, you can often transform trouble by letting this mind be in you, which is also that in Christ Jesus, meaning understand that you are God. God is in you as you, when you step into that higher mind, right? We have the physical man and we have the spiritual man. Spiritual man is who you really are. You can ward off a lot of grief by practicing the presence of God, but trouble touches everyone at some times. In the world, ye shall have tribulation, because it is the kind of world. Then why be negative, pessimistic, and tragic about it? Why single yourself out as a target for trouble, saying it hits you? Everything happens to me. I hate those things. Everything's happening, happens to me. I can't win for losing. I really shut the hell up. Do not say that. Like, shut up. That is not true. You win all the time. You just focus more on those negative moments. You focus more on the things that you don't want, but you are lying. Goodness happens to you every day when you open your eyes, when you take a breath without thinking, you even breathe through faith. You just have the idea that you're going to breathe without any problem. How do you know? Be a person that struggles to breathe. That will then be on your mind. You don't think about breathing because you breathe with ease. After all, we are not like the bewildered little boy who is lost in a dry goods store. When a sympathetic floor walker walked to him to ask what's wrong, he replied, "Please, sir, have you seen a lady without a little boy who looks like me? We sorely tried and troubled, as we are at times, do have a father, and closer is he than breathing, and nearer than hands and feet. In him we live, move, and have our being. Being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also." Perfect as this statement is, St. Paul went a step further. He went on to say, "And we know that all things work together for the good of those who love God." Do you see what this apostle is trying to get over to us? It's simple. No matter what befalls us, the secret of meeting it lies in the bringing of the power of God to bear upon it. If we face trouble with the desire to learn from the experience, we shall rise victoriously. If we're not for trouble, there will be little mental or spiritual growth. Channing Pollock, the great poet, once said, the great playwright, I'm just making up words. When I get tired of reading, I just start making up words. The great playwright once said, "Men in motor cars go forward by a series of explosions. A beautiful motor car cannot fulfill its function until it has a series of internal explosions. Just so a human being with conflicts and difficulties to overcome gets somewhere and becomes someone." Make your agreement. The first step in dealing with trouble is to agree with it. I underline this. The first step in dealing with trouble is to agree with it. I'm not going to argue with it. Agree with thine adversary quickly whilst thou art in the way with him. In other words, accept trouble as one of life inevitabilities in a world mind. See it as carmundrum under the knife. Realize that it can minister to the soul's higher good. Crisis, failures, hardships, pain, suffering, opposition, and injustice are nothing more than explosions in the mixing chamber of the mind. Agreement not only robs them of their power, but takes the fear, fire, and sting out of them and the conditions of the mind and life so that God can do greater things for us. St. Paul said, "Put on the whole armor of God." If the explosions tear you apart, you have not made your agreement with the trouble. You will not be able to withstand in the evil day. St. Paul did not say put on your part of your armor of God, but specified the whole armor. You must give him your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength. The faith that saves is the total response of the whole self to the will of God. It is the response of the mind in belief, the heart in trust, the will in conduct. I have known all kinds of people in all kinds of trouble, but it's only those who wear the whole armor of God who triumph over it. Do you see why agreement is so important in meeting trouble? It is one of those great factors in every successful demonstration. It determines whether trouble makes us or break us, whether we go up or down. The next step in meeting trouble is to cleanse the mind. Drop the trouble for the time as you would drop a hot potato as it cools. Get clear away from it in your thought. This may take time, but keep at it. This is actually a trick way before I got this book that I learned is that when something was really stressing me, bothering me, and I was just having trouble figuring it out, I would just step away from it. I would do something completely different, something that made me happy, and take my mind completely off it. Very often the solution would come. One of my friends would say, take a nap. When you go take a nap, you wake up and it's like, oh, I know the answer now. Sometimes you just need to go to sleep, right? To receive the answer to any problem, you must not only seek guidance, but also present an open and untroubled mind ready to receive it. The solution cannot come while the mind is running like a trip hammer. Be still and know that I am God. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Get the consciousness of his presence. See him walking by your side. Know that you are surrounded by a creative mind that receives the impression of your thought and acts upon it. Know that you are in this mind and that this mind is in you. Don't discuss your trouble with others. Don't ask for advice. Seek the answers within. This is why I told you guys, drop your stories. Don't tell me your stories. I'm not reading it. I'm not going to come to meet you there. And I don't care if you don't like it. I don't care if you're angry because I made a video saying that I don't read your story. I don't want to hear that. You don't even need to be telling anybody that. No. We don't do that, right? If the subconscious state of your mind denies what your consciousness thought says, it neutralizes the conscious thoughts. This is why St. Paul told us to pray without ceasing. To get results, you must pray until your conscious thought believes that, and the subconscious thought no longer denies it. You must pray until all doubts are removed. Treatment is a mental and spiritual adjustment. It is conditioning the mind so that it no longer refutes the idea of perfection embodied in this treatment. It is important to seek God's guidance in every problem, but we must first make sure that we're actually and wholeheartedly putting our problem in God's hand. Let us be childlike enough to believe that he will give us a definite and clear-cut answer. It does not make any difference how difficult or pressing the problem may be. It will ultimately disappear or be solved. If you can be calm and collected in the midst of trouble, you will triumph over it. If you can fill your mind with precious qualities of courage, confidence, and faith, nothing can defeat you. When the subconscious mind gets a new idea, when the idea takes possession in the conscious mind, it gets you. When you empty the subconscious of all adverse, tense, troublesome, and distorted thoughts and fill it with thoughts of life, power, victory, and optimism, the whole tenor of your life will change, which is why the subconscious programming tracks are so very important, because you want to make sure everything in your life is in the victory, the optimism, the worthiness, the abundance, the health, which is why that's important, because you want it to be able to agree with every good thing you tell your conscious. But this is tedious work. You say, that's right, but so is anything worthwhile and lasting. Don't be misled by the printed or spoken word. Many people say to me after listening to a lecture, it sounds so easy when you tell it, and I know that this is true. Faith is easy to understand, but faith is hard to apply. If it were otherwise, Christianity would lose its power. Faith is in a challenge. If you're going to say the prayer of faith, you must not only back it up with acceptance, belief, and trust, but you must empty your mind of everything that contradicts or denies it. That's why St. Paul said, our conversation is in heaven. It is difficult to think and speak constructive, positive, happy, victorious, life-giving words when the mind is filled with anxieties, apprehensions, antagonisms. Why was that hard? I don't know. Antipathies, doubts, criticism, and fears. Just when some great challenge or opportunity comes along, which would enrich our lives or improve our circumstances, we are stopped dead in our tracks by a sense of doubt, fear, or inferiority. Some sinister thought wiggles up out of the subconscious mind and says, beware, this is not for you. You are not equal to it. You do not have what it takes. Let it alone. Let not your heart be troubled. Are you in some kind of difficulty right now? Then start drawing upon your faith. Face the difficulty and say, God in the midst of me is able to conquer this thing. He is doing it now. I have faith to move mountains, and I am calling upon that faith now. I have the courage to conquer and subdue any adverse thing. But here comes that voice again. You're only kidding yourself. You're scared stiff. You haven't any courage, and you know it. How are you going to silence this voice, you may ask? You're going to challenge it every time it speaks. You're going to make that voice tell the truth. Say positively, forcefully, and with feeling. Subconscious mind of me, I am tired of your lies. I command to you to tell the truth. I command to you to restore my courage and faith, and I command to you to do it now. Speak as one having authority, because you do. Let the subconscious mind know you mean what you say. Imagination is a gift. Call upon your imagination. See yourself as you wish to be. See yourself as possessing the things you desire to possess. Marcus Aurelius once said, a man's life is dyed by the color of his imagination. Imagination is a process of projecting images upon the screen of the mind. You don't have to go through a lot of mental gyrations and exercises. You don't have to argue, reason, or divide. You can make a picture. You can become aware of something. You know something. Raise your level of consciousness. Would you have God? then you must accept him. You must become aware of him. You must become conscious of him. Do you see it? Do you understand it? Meaning you have to become aware of God in you, right? You have to become conscious of that. Let me put it another way. You can have anything you cannot have anything unless you're conscious of it. You can eat a peach unless you're conscious of it. You can drive a car unless you're conscious of it. Can you greet a friend unless you're conscious of a thing? What did Jesus mean when he said, I am Alpha and Omega? He meant that the whole creative process begins and ends with God. There is nothing before Alpha and there is nothing after Omega. This is the whole operation. This is the way the law works. I am A and I am Z, or Z if you're from UK or Australia. The A of life is consciousness, awareness. The Z is demonstration. So the A is what you're conscious of, and the Z is it's now in the physical 3D. Put imagination to work. Jesus gave us another wonderful concept. Whatever you can imagine for yourself, you cannot demonstrate anything on the material plane that you cannot imagine first. All things, whatever ye shall ask, believing ye shall receive. Now ponder that statement for a few moments and make sure you really understand it. Creative imagination is a divine faculty given to every man. You have it now. When you put it to work, it opens your consciousness. But that's ridiculous, someone said. Imagination is just fantasy. It's a waste of time. Do you know that you can't imagine anything that doesn't have a basis in the first place? Even your wildest and sometimes horrible imaginings and result from putting together parts of things you have seen or read or heard. You say, I want a better position. I want a better house. I want more friends. I want to travel. I want a larger income. You know that these things have a factual basis. Then meet the test. Answer the question, can I imagine it? Do you know that I and the Father are one? Do you know God as you? Do you have acceptance? Do you have self-completeness? If you have, then what you want is yours. You have taken it into consciousness and it exists for you. It objectifies as you. It is you. If you can imagine it, you can have it. If you cannot imagine it, you cannot have it. That is the principle. Whatever things that ye desire when ye pray, believe that you have received them and ye shall have them. You say, I want a farm of my own. I want to be a great chemist, engineer, minister, leader, surgeon. Why not? The desire is spiritually legal. That is, it harms no one. The wish is already established. That which you wish to be is. The kingdom of God is finished. God's work is already done. Whew. You are already that which you wish to be right now. Then why are you looking inside instead of out? Why are you wishing instead of being? It is because you have something else mixed in your picture. Do you also say, I'm too old, I'm too poor, I don't have enough education? But the power is right there. It's already within you. You could not have a desire that's not already established in God, one that is not awaiting your faith to be objectified. The farm is already within you. The engineer is already within you. The minister is already within you. The chemist is already within you. But you have to imagine it, believe it, feel it, embody it, dream it, and become it. I underline that. I'm going to say it again. But you have to imagine it, believe it, feel it, embody it, mean being it, dream it, and become it. The everlasting is now. There is no time in spirit. And I put a little note here that says, this means that quantum leap happen regularly. It is not on time restraints. So some of you put time limits and say, this is going to happen in a year, this will happen in 5, but actually can happen like that. Or it can happen longer, depending on where you meet your faith. The fields are already white into harvest. The kingdom of heaven is at hand, but there must be immediacy in the prayer. The promotion, that new refrigerator, that trip to Hawaii, that thing you're seeking to demonstrate. If imagination says next year, consciousness then says next year, and then God says next year. But Jesus said, thy kingdom come in earth as it is in heaven. Note that is, it's already is. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. The time of God's giving is always now. Does anything happen when you pray? Does your word have power? It must be backed by faith and acceptance. Your word must be backed by faith and acceptance. Do you accept your good with every cell in your body? Do you feel it clear down to the tips of your toes? What in the word that metaphysician talks about so much. It is thought. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word was made flesh. Do you see what we're talking about? The word you speak in the consciousness that you are one with the Father is not a word of the head, but a word of the heart, knowing. It is the word of God. It is God. Speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. The word which is to be spoken into manifestation is part of the whole. It is spoken with the understanding that I and the Father are one. This is a thought that you're going to see come up over and over in this book. Even though, remember, I told you, if you have a problem with the word God, I know you probably didn't checked out. You probably ain't even made it this far in the video, but you'll recognize that when you understand that power of the oneness, all these things are happening, and they're happening now, and you understand the power of your word. Tell me then about your word. Do you take it into consciousness? Do you speak as one having authority, dominion? Y'all know I love dominion, authority. Do you believe that the desire is fulfilled before you speak, or do you only hope that it is? When does the word become God? When you say, I and the Father are one. If you go back and study the above paragraph, or we'll say the previous paragraph carefully, you will see that we've been talking about consciousness. In the beginning was consciousness, and the consciousness was with God, and the consciousness was God, and the consciousness became flesh. So your word is your consciousness. What are you aware of? In the beginning was consciousness. Remember, it said word. In the beginning was consciousness. The consciousness was with God. Consciousness is knowing God. And the consciousness was God. And the consciousness became flesh. We can say belief. In the beginning was belief, and the belief was God, and the belief was with God, and the belief was God, and the belief became flesh. The power of the word is in faith and consciousness back of it. The words that I speak unto you, they are spirit and they are life. So shall my word be. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please. The accomplishing word is not only the spirit-filled word, but the believing word. It is both the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. If ye have faith and doubt not, ye shall say unto the mountain, be thou removed, and thou shalt be cast into the sea. It shall be done. Note the words, ye shall say. Who is it that is going to speak the words that will cast this mountain into the mountain of trouble into sea? It's you. You are the one who will speak this mountain out of existence. Ye shall say means you who are reading this book. You determine the level of your consciousness. Look at your consciousness for a moment. What do you find there? Which side of the fence are you on? What are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What are you accepting? Something evil, something partial, something poor, something sick, something feeble? Well, whatever it is, that what you will get, and you will continue to get that until you're conscious of something else. Just what are you seeking? What is it that you're trying to do? What is it that you want to be? Is it necessary for your fulfillment? Will it add to your peace? Can you imagine it? Look again and tell me. Is it complete and finished in your thought? Then speak your words and take the thing you seek. Don't muff it by fears and challenges. Don't strain and doubt. Don't throw obstacles in the way. Just take it by faith. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believe. This is not the head belief of mental assent, but the heart belief of faith and trust. You are seeking that state of mind by which the things desired become the things possessed. Then you must come by way of Jesus's anointing. Seek ye first the kingdom of God. Recognize your oneness with it. Unite your mind with his mind. Claim your good. There's an old fable about a dog that boasts of his ability as a runner. One day he gave chase to the rabbit, but failed to catch it. The other dogs ridiculed him on account of his previous boasting. His reply was, you must remember that the rabbit was running for his life. I was only running after my dinner. The incentive is all important. You now have the incentive. If you are seeking loaves and fish, you will not put the same quality of consciousness into your search that you will put if Your ambition is deeper and more serious. Seek the spirit back of things not only puts you in possession of the things, but enables you to use them freely. It is one thing that cannot be lost, stolen, fluctuate, or fail. Emerson said, "What a man does that he has, what has he to do with the hope or fear? In himself is his might. Let him regard no good as solid, but that which is in his nature and which must grow out of him as long as he exists. The good of fortune may come and go like summer leaves. Let him scatter them on every wind as momentary signs of his productiveness. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. Are your knuckles raw from knocking? Are your eyes tired from seeking? Are your vocal cords parched from asking? Nah, but they're a little parched from reading." You set out to demonstrate health. You observe all laws. You pray and entreat, but nothing happens. Perhaps you knock at the door for your supply. Your need is desperate. Your mortgage is due, and the creditors are breathing down your neck, but no one opens the door. What are you going to do? Pin crepe on your sleeve and bemoan your faith? Are you going to become cynical, frustrated, embittered? Are you going to settle back in your defeat, shrug your shoulders and say, "What's the use?" Are you going to run up the flag of surrender and say bitterly, "It doesn't work for me," or more bitterly, "It doesn't work"? Whew, that's why I ignore y'all comments. When you say it just don't work for me, okay then. I don't argue what is, because we see through different veils. We're conscious of different things. The thing to do is to recognize that closed doors come to all alike. It doesn't make any difference how good you are, how much you know. Sooner or later, you will come to doors that do not open. You will resist them or you will use them according to your attitude towards them. If you see them as dead ends, you will go down under disbelief. If you ask why and find the cause to be your own divided mind and lack of realization, you can make the necessary change within yourself and knock again. If you see them as tests of your faith, you will continue to knock. Did Peter become panicky, fearful, or hysterical when the door did not open? Did he fly into rage? What do the scriptures say? Peter continued knocking. What a lesson in that for us all. Our faith is tested by our ability, having done all to stand. It is tested by our ability to keep knocking. Closed doors are often simply a series of questions concerning our fortitude and our stability. They are a measure of our faith. Can you be patient in the face of delay? Can you be positive in the face of negation? Can you be dauntless in the face of defeat? Can you be confident in the face of ruin? Can you be peaceful in the midst of confusion? Can you maintain your faith in the midst of doubt and uncertainty? There's always the possibility that what you most desire is not the thing that you should have. Can you not look back in your life and see occasions when the things that happened was far better than the things you projected? A locked door may be side by side with one that's wide open for you. And often we're so focused on one door that we don't see something better is right next to it. If you have a close relationship with God, it should be easy for you to trust everything in your life to him. It should be easy to give him your problems, difficulties, and needs as it is to trust him. Develop a seed which you plant in the ground or to regulate your heartbeats and other involuntary processes in your body. Of myself, I can do nothing, but with God, all things are possible. All is all there is. You are a point of expression for all oneness, but until you identify yourself with it, you are like an electric light globe with the switch turned off. Why is the consciousness of oneness so important in spiritual demonstration? Because one with God is a majority. When you become one with anything, you become that thing, so to speak. So to become one with law is to become that law in action. Now ask yourself, am I the law of health in action? Am I the law of success in action? Am I the law of prosperity in action? If your answer is no, ask yourself, why not? The answer you will probably get is this: you're trying to contact God from a point outside yourself. It is not by mouthing affirmations or singing hymns that God become a present help in times of trouble. It is only by working the center out, only by becoming the law in action. What one must do after he has impressed his desire on the subconscious mind, he must trust God for the perfect outworking of the law. What does God ask for us? Just one thing, our faith. Why do we complicate the process? Is it wholly because we cannot believe that results will come simply from trusting? Isn't our real trouble that we cannot quite let go? What does it mean to let go? It means to close a bulkhead door so tightly that they cannot be opened, to put our claim in an airtight compartment that no one has access to it, to go all the way in trusting Him, and to not go back to the problem in thought until it's solved. Is there anything so hard about that? Not any more so than dropping a piece of paper in a wastebasket and leaving it there. You let go of your needs and wants, your ambitions and aspirations, your fears and worries, your obligations and responsibilities, your claims and desires, in perfect trust and abandonment, knowing that God takes hold when you let go. Am I going to continue here, or should I keep on? You know what? I think I'm going, you know what? I'm going to read the next 10 pages and then I'm going to stop. Okay. If you take them up in thought again after placing them lovingly in His hands, you only delay His action. You must trust them to Him with the same abandon that you drop a seed to the ground. Jesus said that the seed must rot before the new shoot can come forth. It cannot rot, however, if you keep digging it up. Our seed analogy. Do you see how stupid it is when you try to force God to do your bidding, and how wise it is to let Him express Himself through you as you? Do you want peace and rest that comes with spiritual relaxation? Then take your place in the consciousness of Christ. Identify yourself with the e-ness of yourself, your divine self. Clothe yourself in faith, trust, assurance, receptivity, and gratitude, and then beat upon the gates of heaven with all the immobility, importunity, persistence, and spiritual strength which you have. The secret of successful achievement is to press your claim persistently and consistently. Do you understand the difference between instantaneous healing and gradual healing? It is the difference. This is good, y'all. So this might be something to write. It is the difference between absolute acceptance and partial acceptance. Instantaneous healing comes when you're able to accommodate the idea with which you have become one. The thing is true because it is true. You do not have to make it so. Blind faith, someone said, follows God's laws ignorantly and haphazardly and with intermediate results. Understanding faith works with God's laws harmoniously and successfully. Prayer made in understanding, faith exerts a powerful influence. When you have absolute faith, it will be as easy to heal cancer as a headache. The absolute faith part, most people don't have absolute faith with zero doubts. Do you believe that you're going to get the things that you've asked for? Do you feel it in every atom of your being? Do you realize it in your mind? Believe that ye receive them and ye shall have them. In other words, accept your fulfilled desire in a whole consciousness, nothing doubting. Assume a virtue if you have it not. Dramatize your affirmation if need be. Pretend to be yourself that the desired condition is already established. Live, think, act, and speak as though it's fulfilled now. If all things are possible to him that believe, the belief must come first. Even though you're terrified by the thing that happened to you, you must keep the mental level high. Put on the whole armor of God. Call upon your dynamic and creative faith. Apply it to your problem. Tell God that your faith in his power is limitless and that you are calling upon that power now. Realize the subconscious receives your directions and acts upon them. If God be for us, who can be against us? In other words, if God is for me, who can be against me? Repeat that statement many times. Get your consciousness of oneness and partnership with God, and nothing can defeat you. With every demonstration you make, your faith will be nourished, vitalized, and strengthened. You will come eventually to the place at which you will make your demonstrations easily and naturally. You will build up your consciousness a magnetic field, which will attract all the elements and factors needed for your success. Why do you still sit still? There are factors that delay healing and answers to prayer. Through your objective mind, you can identify these, reason with these, and analyze yourself to see which of them are operating in your life. By putting your faith to work through knowledge of how to use your subjective mind, you can eliminate them. Doubt not. Doubt operates as the enemy of faith. That was a note that I put there. If you doubt, it is the enemy of faith. Doubt is the enemy of your faith. Doubt is one of the malignant forces that attempt to operate against faith. If ye have doubt, if have faith and doubt not, whatsoever ye ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. Whosoever shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe that those things shall come to pass, he shall have whatever he saith. We open the mind through faith and close it through doubt. A kingdom divided against itself shall fail. You know what? I know I said I was going to do 10 pages, but my throat is beginning to hurt. So we are going to actually pause here. I am going to pick this up on part 3, which will likely come out the day after you see this video. And I just need to take a break and then I will get back started. So I would love to hear your ahas from part 2 thus far. There have been many for me, and actually I will give you some that was for me, because I have so many notes against I can't even find the page, but it was on. But one of the ones that really stood out to me was the difference between immediate healing and delayed healing is all about your faith. If you want something healed, whether it's a physical healing, a financial healing, a mental healing, whatever it is, if it's not happening immediately, it's about you. And it's because there's a doubt that's there, right? And so stepping into full faith is how to get it. It's where quantum leaps come from. Over on my business side and my consulting side, I talk a lot about quantum leaps. I was looking for where I actually have a whole bunch of notes written on this in here, but I can't find it. But I talk a lot about quantum leaps. And the thing about quantum leaps is quantum leaps happen when you are laser focused on that which you desire and you only see that and you don't see the lack thereof. All of a sudden now you have that which is desired. And so we're able to shrink the timeline of what takes a year or 2 or 5 into a few months because we're so laser focused on the outcome. Hope that makes sense. That was my aha moment. I would love to hear from you and what yours was. And I will see you on part 3. If you are enjoying this thus far, please share the series. I am going to actually create a playlist and put all parts. I'm going to start putting them in a playlist so you can just start going through it. All right, toodles.